And then Mr. Cruz, if you wanted to go check your class to see if there's anybody else who needs help getting into the training, I'll be here.
Thank you, Ms. Wade-Smith. And welcome. And I made you a co-host just in
I saw
case.
that. Thank you.
Okay. Um, and so we are recording. Just wanted to announce that. And then Mr. Cruz is going to work on whether or not there's going to be releases and he can use the recording. But so it's recording to the cloud. And just welcome everyone. I'm Neil Little. For some of you students might recognize me from the zoo and various other things, but I'm your work-based learning coordinator for the STEM pathway at Link Learning. And so it's my job to connect you with experiences like this, where we have industry and people from higher education come in and speak to you about their career in engineering and how they got to where they are, and answer some questions, and also lead you on an activity where you're going to be doing a little bit of coding, because this is part of USC's Hour of Code, and we're really grateful to USC for providing this opportunity. And thank you all for being here and being on time. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to USC.
And I'm just going to talk for a little bit today because I know we want to get started hearing from our computer science experts who are here today and doing a coding activity for Hour of Code. So hi, my name is Sarah Thomas, and I'm representing University of Southern California, that's USC, and the Viterbi School of Engineering. And thank you to Mr. Cruz. Thank you to Mr. Cruz's class. Thank you to IEEE. So IEEE is a group of students, USC students who are experts in engineering and computer science who are going to be leading our activity today. And we also have with us some special guests from industry who are from Google. So we've got a couple of Google guests here as well today. So you're going to be hearing from them about their experience. You're going to get a chance to meet them, ask them questions. Please do ask them questions. They love answering questions. And that's going to be it for me. I'm going to turn it over to IEEE. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I hope you guys are really excited to do today's activity. I am very excited to help you guys out with it. We had a lot of fun doing it last year, so hopefully it goes smoothly this year. I'm Tara. I'm currently the vice president of IEEE, which is a student organization that we have on campus. It stands for the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. And basically, we do a lot of engineering with hardware, but we also do some software, which is what we're going to be doing today, which is kind of like coding and programming. So I hope you guys enjoy that. So just a couple of ground rules for today. Please just be respectful of, us and each other. There'll be a time when we're just kind of going to be working on the code, and you guys can feel free to unmute and ask questions as well as during the panel. But, if someone else is speaking, you can definitely type in the chat or just wait your turn. If you aren't sharing or talking, please do mute yourself. But of course, again, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute or use the chat function. And yeah, it's going to be really fun. I think Sarah said that you guys have done dance parties, so you guys are probably already pros. So if you guys have problems or have any questions, definitely just feel free to ask us. Okay, so what is Hour of Code? It's basically, going to be a time for us to learn computer science, whether it's your first time or, you've already done dance party and you're already pro at it. You're just going to get to kind of improve on those coding skills that you guys have. And you can ask us college students any questions. We have some reps from Google who are, top tier programmers. So again, if you have any questions about the industry or what it's like being a college student, learning something in the CS related fields, get those questions ready, because this is the perfect time to get all of those questions asked. And lastly, you're going to have a really cool program to show, your friends and family, and we'll even have time to share at the end if you guys want to share what you guys make today. So let's watch this video introducing the hour of code.
Creativity is how the younger generation will take the latest science and put it together in a way to solve tough problems like climate change and infectious disease.
Creativity is showing the world what is unique about you.
Creativity is making something out of nothing.
Creativity is solving problems the way you like them solved.
Creativity is expressing yourself in a way that is uniquely you.
Per me la creatività è divertirsi con ciò che non può parlare.
Creativity means waking up one day with an idea that you can change the world.
What will you create?
So this hour of code is kind of going to be a time for, you to create something really cool. We'll kind of talk more about the program that you'll be creating a little bit later, but it's really a time for you to be creative, and that's what coding is. It's a way for you to be creative in a technological way. So, okay, so today what we'll be doing is we'll be starting out with a panel, and then we'll get to the coding activity, and then after that you can share with the classroom if you want what you made, and yeah. So a little bit about us. I can start with my intro. I'm Tara. I'm currently a junior at USC, and I think the first time that I started coding was in high school. I attended a summer program at UC Irvine, and I got to create an app to test reaction time using 3D sound. And then after that, I kind of just fell in love with coding, and that's kind of how I ended up in this field today. Let's pass it on to Cami.
Hey, sorry that my picture is not there. I put it in too late for it to make it to the slides. But my name is Cami. I am a senior studying electrical and computer engineering with a minor in dance. I'm from Orlando, Florida, which is where I am right now. And I've been in IEEE for 3.5 years now, and I'm the current outreach chair.
If Ayana or Latha are here, do you guys want to share? I can't see the participant list. All right, then I guess we'll pass it on to Hannah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah. I'm currently Zooming in from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a sophomore, also studying electrical and computer engineering, which has been super fun. I actually remember doing Hour of Code when I was I think first in middle school and then high school. I think the first time I ever did it was when Frozen was big. And so I remember coding Elsa skating around a little rink. So yeah, that's been super fun.
And Caro, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, perfect.
I'm Caroline. I'm a senior studying electrical engineering. I've also been in IEEE for about 3.5 years, maybe 3 years. I'm the associate outreach chair, and I probably started coding around the end of high school, in the beginning of college. So it's never too late to start.
Let's hand it over to our Google reps.
Hi, I'm Prasan. I work at Google in Los Angeles, and I started coding around middle school for basically to make modifications to a few video games. And I'll pass it on to Peter.
Hi, I'm a software engineer at Google, and I used to work in visual effects before joining Google. When I started coding, actually I had to smile when Prasan talked about video games because, well, I'll get to that in a little bit. But my first experience programming was on a calculator because we didn't have access to computers when I was growing up. We had an Apple computer in 11th grade in our school. That was amazing. So that was my first introduction. But getting back to the video game thing, I'll have to admit one of the first things one of the first things that got me into programming was figuring out how to hack into video games. I stopped doing that after a while. I got better.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, everyone. That's really cool. So let's get started with our first question. Why are you so passionate about computer science? Does anyone want to start us off?
I can
All
go.
right. Oh yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I think computer science is especially cool just because computers are so integrated in society now. And I think moving forward, there's going to be more things run by computers than we know, or maybe that we'd like in the future. So I think just knowing how computers work and how we can solve problems using computers could solve so many problems now and in the future. So I think it's just a really cool industry to be learning now because it's going to continue being important.
I definitely agree. I think one thing that I've noticed too at USC is that it's not just engineers who do computer science because it's so widely used that, you know, like I see like people studying business who are like, yeah, CS is like super important in what I do. So like they have to learn it as well. And so I think it's definitely a very, very broad field and something that's useful to anyone regardless of your profession.
I think on top of that, it's a very validating field because you're making something and then you'll hit problems and roadblocks and you have to like kind of work through them. And the feeling you get when your code compiles is like such a thrill. So like for me, I'm not going to end up going into computer science. I'm going to do more electrical work, but I still just love getting to like build something and make something with my computer and have it work and be like a proud mother of a piece of code or something.
Yeah. Did anyone else have any last things to share for this one?
I can share. I definitely have always loved tinkering and solving problems. And I think one of the things with computers is there's so many different ways of solving different problems. And one of the things that I think helps keep me passionate, I wasn't expecting this at the time, but when I got into visual effects, I ended up doing work that came out that actually came out on film, and I could say, oh yeah, some of the stuff I did that. And even working at Google, especially the kind of reach and impact that your code can have. I worked on Google Photos and I'm currently working on Google Drive. Even though I'm a very, very small part of these teams, they're important pieces. It takes a lot of people working together to create these products that now you can visually see that are making a difference and impacting people. I never expected to be able to do that. I feel very fortunate to have gotten there, but I think one of the things that keeps me passionate is knowing that the things that I create get used, and that makes it important.
Yeah, and it's much the same here for me. I mean, one of the things I like about computer science is you get to build things. Now this is true of most forms of engineering. This is just the particular one I happen to get into. But I think in engineering in general, you get to build things, and I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, definitely agree with you guys on that one. So our next question, I guess we kind of answered a little bit in the intro, but how did we get started in computer science? And are there any challenges that we faced before? I can start us off. Again, I started learning computer science my first time in high school, and I took AP computer science when I was like a senior, I think, which is a really, really fun class. That was kind of like an intro class to Java, and I continued with it throughout college. I've taken a computer science class in almost every semester, so that's been really fun for me. And to be honest, there have been more challenges than I can count. I think computer science is, just a constant challenge, and you're constantly writing code and then debugging it and trying to find what errors there are in your code. And so one piece of advice that I would give to anyone learning computer science for the first time is don't give up. You're always going to be challenged, but that's the fun in it. Like Cami was saying, there's no thrill quite like getting your code to work, but in part that's because you work so hard to get it to work that once you finally get that and it compiles, it's like this big wave of relief. So there's going to be plenty of challenges, to be honest.
I was a little bit of a late bloomer when it comes to computer science. I had no experience actually, like zero until like first day of school of college, where I was in intro to computer science. And so that was definitely an overwhelming experience, considering I saw everyone around me and they're all like, oh yeah, like I've messed around with like Java and like all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, I'm so screwed. But it turned out okay. I ended up taking a lot more computer science classes and doing well in them. But I think just kind of that initial hurdle of being confident in myself and realizing that like it's just a skill, it takes practice, was definitely something I had to get over. And then, yeah, kind of gaining that confidence was a great feeling, because now I know that I can do something really cool.
I'm similar to Tara. I think I took AP Computer Science in high school, which was a really fun class. I learned a ton. And one challenge I'd say is the projects we had, little like coding assignments from our textbook. Those were really hard, especially at first, just because sometimes you'll be lucky enough to like just forget a semicolon and then that's a quick fix error. But sometimes you have no idea where to start when you have an error, and it could get very frustrating very fast. So I quickly learned to make friends in that class and work with other people, just because sometimes if you get someone else to look at your code, they might be like, oh, you forgot this. And then, it's a quick fix. So I think just not being afraid to ask for help, just because these other people in your class or people in your field or whatever it may be, probably went through the same challenges as you and they are able to help. So that's one thing I would say.
Actually, I can share a little bit about something a little bit maybe later career that was a challenge for me in computer science. When I first graduated, I didn't get any work experience. And I'm going to just from the start say that getting experience is super important. I did not like stuck in a particular area for many years. But one thing that I learned was that I love the idea of communicating information visually using graphics. So that helped me to then take a second stage in my career where I went to grad school, specifically in computer graphics and animation. And that was a complete pivot in what I was doing and led me to a career that I really loved doing, which was producing visual effects. But I think the challenge that I faced there was kind of lack of direction from not really getting involved and figuring out what some of these careers were like, and having to kind of figure it out a little bit late. So I got through that, but I feel like there would have been a lot, there would have been so much advantages to doing internships or getting experience or getting hands-on like you guys are doing today, which I feel like helps to direct and get through some of these challenges early.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I had gotten started basically I used to be a big fan of the Need for Speed series of video games, and there were these little tweaks you could make so you could change what the car did or how fast it could go, and that's basically how I got started. I also did take AP Computer Science later and decided to major in it, at which point I had a fairly straightforward route into computer science.
All right, thank you everyone for sharing. I think we'll be opening it up to you guys to ask us any questions. I'm going to stop sharing right here so we can see all your faces. But if you would like to ask any questions, feel free to unmute or type them in the chat and we can answer those. So Melanie is asking us, was this always your passion? So I can start. At first, when I learned computer science, it was developing an application for like Apple devices. And it was like really, really hard for me. Kind of like how Cami was saying, it seemed like everyone that was in my program had already learned to code. And I was kind of like a straggler left behind. And so I was pretty discouraged at first. So I wouldn't say I was super passionate about it, but once I actually got to take like an intro course in my high school, I realized that it actually is really fun when you're not like thrown into it, like supposed to have a lot of experience and I didn't. And so I realized how fun it was. And so from the start, it wasn't necessarily a passion. It definitely took time to develop, but after a while, I did start really liking it.
For me, I have always loved science and math, but not necessarily computer science, largely because I didn't really know what it was. No one in my family does anything with technology or computers, so I really didn't know a lot about it. But I remember doing Hour of Code, which is almost like turning coding into a game, which I really enjoyed. So I definitely liked that aspect. But for me personally, I know a lot of you might not even be thinking about what you want to learn in college or what you want to do as a career. But for me, I thought, like, I sort of skipped college in my mind and I thought, like, what do I want to do as a job? And I thought working with technology would be super cool. And again, like I said, computers are useful in literally any job you might have in the future. Knowing things about computers is going to be helpful. So then I knew I wanted to do that as a job. So I worked backwards and picked something to learn in college that would help me get there. So don't be afraid to think that way too. If you know you have a dream job, you could always pick something to learn in high school, in college, that could help you get to those dreams.
Just to add on to that, because I think I had a very like unique path coming to engineering. I went to a performing arts high school. I always thought I was going to work in the movies and make movies and do that kind of thing. So I really decided I wanted to be an engineer like maybe my senior year of high school. And it was just because like kind of like Hannah, I've always just had like good grades in math and science. And I was like, oh, this is actually like really cool what I can do with this. Like, yeah, maybe I'm not like thrilled solving all these calculus equations all the time, but the fact that I can kind of use it as a toolbox was kind of really eye-opening to me. And I really got inspired by that to kind of pursue engineering and keep my artistic hobbies kind of on the side. So that was a big career path switch for me as a high schooler. And I think a lot of people will go through that sort of thing when trying to decide what they want to do.
I guess I can answer this question too. I would say that computers has always been a passion. There have definitely, computer science has always been a passion. There have definitely been a lot of ups and downs along the road, but I would say that there's a philosophy that I've used which has helped a bit, which is that you can make anything a passion if you decide to make it a passion, that you can get interested in anything. And so like I have a lot of side hobbies right now because I'm stuck at home in quarantine. I'm making sourdough bread a passion. A couple years ago, I made hiking a passion. And the thing is, I think that I grew up on a farm, literally shoveling manure. And what I discovered was that there's actually a lot of better things you can do than that. Some of them are hard, but you can, but by making them, but you can always choose to like something or not like it. And if you choose to not like it, it will make things even harder. you know, to be honest, I kind of liked working on a farm for a while because at some point I decided I liked it, but there are better things. And so I would say with computers, for me, that's been the case too. There's been quite a few downs, but I've chosen to make it a passion, and that's helped a lot.
What's the coolest project that you guys worked on? I know that a lot of our kids are gamers and they like stuff like that. Like I heard some of you guys say you guys got in because you guys were into video games. Is there any like project that you guys really like, oh wow, I'm working on this. This is like, I can't believe this is my job. I get to do this and get paid.
Yeah,
I can share a couple. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Peter. I'll go after. Okay.
Sorry, there was enough lag that I wasn't sure who was going first. I'll go through a couple. One, I'm going to talk about a pre-Google career thing. I used to work at a company called Rhythm and Hues doing visual effects, and I was as the software manager for the animation group. And so I think one of the coolest projects is we developed a fur system. And one of the times that was really showcased was in a movie called The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. So the really cool thing was having our group basically put the fur on the lion and a lot of other furry animals along the way. So that was pretty cool. At Google, I was really fortunate to start in the folks group, and that was just before they launched Google Photos. So I got to be on the team that developed some of the initial work for that. In particular, I worked on iPhone development, which I'd never done before joining Google. So when I landed at Google, they said, do you want to develop on iPhones? I said, sure, I can make that a passion. I didn't say I could make that a passion, but that was what was going through my head. And it was actually a lot of fun. And I didn't know that it would land in basically working on the iPhone app. And for me, that was, I did a lot of the work in persisting the data. That is taking the data that's on the server and moving it onto the phone and keeping the database organized. And so that was pretty cool because after it launched, the growth and the usage was, it wasn't anything we imagined it would be, but we were very grateful that in its adoption. So those are a couple really cool projects
Right. So yeah. So before I joined Google, I worked at a company that did these. It was also somewhat related to gaming in that we made these simulations for language learning, where we made. We had these virtual characters you could go and speak to in a foreign language and try to learn it that way. It was actually a USC project, and then it got spun off into a startup. And I worked there for 7 years, and it was a lot of fun because it did feel very futuristic, right? Now it's reasonably common to use a microphone for speech recognition, but in 2007, it was much less so. And we had this thing where you could go and talk to characters in the game, and I thought it was pretty cool at the time.
So that's pretty cool, right? I know in teaching, we're always wanting to transform education and it's hard to see, but you guys actually get to transform the world and actually see it, right? Like, oh, now that's regular using that kind of recognition. That's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't undersell the transforming the world through education, though. My wife's a community college professor. I would say it is nice to be able to see the impact at Google on a large scale.
I have a question. What do you think is the impact will be of our students already kind of getting exposed to coding at the middle school level, like in the long term?
I think primarily most of this is just being persistent and getting through the steep upward learning curve. And so getting some experience with coding at middle school just makes you know that it's nothing scary, and you just have to stick with it, and then you'll get good at it like anything else.
I definitely also think that like one benefit of coding at, a younger age than, most of us started in high school or even college, that you just get exposed to the field further and you kind of get a head start in knowing like what you can do with CS. Like, I used to think that people who study computer science were just like hackers and you like do underground work and you're just hacking, but no, like we need computer science for almost every aspect of our lives now, and it's doing things as simple as using your email. And so I think that also will allow you to see all the possibilities much sooner, and I think for me that makes it a lot more appealing of an industry.
I also think just the more you practice, the better you get. So I'm happy that I did a little bit of coding before college just because it gave me the chance to make those mistakes and learn just early on so I could be even more prepared later on. I also think just thinking of coding as like a puzzle and like a game, in that doing more of it strengthens your brain, gives you more brain power. If you're anything like me, when you get to like a super hard math problem or whatever, and you're like, when am I going to solve for X in real life? Like, this is ridiculous. But the truth is that with math, like computer science, it's all strengthening your brain and your problem solving skills. So I think just learning computer science early on helps you strengthen your brain more, helps equip you to solve even harder problems later on. And it's overall just really good. So.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any questions? These have been great.
I think they're ready for the activities.
All right, that sounds good. Sarah, did you have any announcements before we shifted?
I do not. I am also ready to start coding.
Perfect. So I think we'll be breaking out into breakout rooms soon. But let me just share the beginning of our activity with everyone in the main room. So today we'll be doing, oh, just kidding. To start, we'll be talking about a couple of buzzwords. So coding as the verb, that we've been using all day today is kind of just writing instructions for a computer, for an application, just writing code for a program that you're going to be running. And an event is going to be some kind of an action that triggers something else. And lastly, a program is just something that's been coded and you're going to run it and it's going to do something really, really cool. So the program we'll be doing today is Flappy Bird. So if you guys ever played Flappy Bird, I personally was addicted to it when it first came out like 5 years ago. That's kind of what we'll be doing. You'll have small ways of customizing it, and everyone's going to kind of have the same foundation for it, but you can like customize the background and the sounds and stuff. So that should be really fun. Let me send the link to it in the chat before we go off into breakout rooms, and then we should be good to go, Neil.
So should this click on it now or later?
Yeah, you guys can click on it now, but wait to start it once you're in the breakout rooms with your class and volunteers.
And I'll get ready to open the breakout rooms. And what time do we want to come back into the main room?
If we have, I think about a half hour, that should be good, and then we can kind of share what we did.
Okay, so about 7 after 10. So I will open the breakout rooms. Alejandro, you should be, okay.
Did you guys have fun with the activity? Can I get a thumbs up if you guys liked it? Yeah.
So you guys could do this or a virtual one.
Awesome. We saw some really cool Flappy Birds in our breakout room. And I'm sure the other breakout room had some really cool ones too. So if anyone wants to share theirs, type it in the chat. You can send the link, or we can take turns screen sharing. I think we'll have time for a couple of you guys to go before we wrap up. All right, perfect. I can share my screen and we can start with Melanie's, since I think that's who chatted first, and then we'll go on to Jose's and then later Kathia. So let me open Melanie's and share my screen. All right, so this one should be Melanie's. So when I run it, it's normal. And then it changes to nighttime whenever you pass an obstacle. So really, really cool. Good job, Melanie, with that one. That was super fun. Okay, on to Jose's. Okay. So now it's the underwater with the submarine. Ooh, and he has chimneys as obstacles, and the sound when I passed it, right? So that's super cool. I'm sorry these games don't last longer. I'm very bad at Flappy Bird. And then lastly, Kathia's. All right. Ooh, it's dark. Ooh, and then it changes when I pass the obstacles. Awesome job, guys. And I like the sounds that it played whenever you pass the obstacle. Really, really good job. Oh, and then Michael's. I'll do Michael's and then Marlon's. Yeah. Perfect, perfect. Everyone's done such a good job. All right. So every time I click, it looks like my character changes. And then when I passed the obstacle, it also changed. So that was super cool. And then Marlon. I like it. I like it. And then whenever I hit the obstacle, it looks like the score resets to 0. So super, super good job. Did anyone else want to share before we kind of go into closing statements? Perfect. So Alfredo. I'm sorry. I'm gonna redo that one. That did not get the game it deserved. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear my gardeners. They're outside today. Oh, okay. So it looked like it changed when I passed through the obstacle. So that's super, super cool. Thank you everyone for sharing. You guys did such a good job today. So I'm really, really impressed by all the customizations you guys made. And I think I told this to my breakout room, but if you guys want to do other activities, there's other games that you can practice coding with. If you go on the Hour of Code website, there's so many different block coding activities and even regular coding activities if you guys think you're ready for that. I'm just gonna kind of do closing statements with the PowerPoint.
Sorry to interrupt you, Tara, but can you put the Hour of Code website in the chat just so that students?
Yes, definitely. If one of my other IEEE volunteers could pull that up in the chat while we finish the presentation, that would be awesome. Otherwise, I can do it at the end, no rush. So other things that we can do with coding, I don't know if you guys have ever played Among Us before. I personally am addicted to it. It's a really, really fun game that you can play with friends. So any kind of game that you play online, on your phone or on your computer, that's been coded by someone. So if you play Fortnite or Call of Duty or, Scriblio, all of that is coded by someone. And you guys could potentially code the next big game. Of course, you can also use coding for other purposes. So we do need computer scientists to, send rockets into the air and kind of figure out everything with air travel or space travel. We need computer science, to text our friends or to use our emails. There's a lot of different stuff that we can do. And there's just kind of every field that you decide to go in, even if you don't decide to study computer science, which is totally fine. It'll just, someone, at your company might require, that skill set. And so I think it's really cool because computer scientists are like everywhere and they're needed everywhere.
I just want to cut you off.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much. This was so awesome. I'm really proud of my students for most of them being very showing that they could be professional and enjoying the game, especially those people who were brave enough to volunteer their games to be seen. I'm really awesome. If you guys want, on Friday, we could just do our code and you guys could play each other's game. We'll talk about the project later, how we're going to maybe postpone some of it a little bit. But I really appreciate you guys showing for the most part showing that Hollenbeck, hey, you gave us a good name. I have to run because I forgot to tell my fourth period and they're about to start. So thank you so much, Neil. Thank you guys.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Cruz. Good luck. Students, I just posted a feedback survey for you to complete, and Ms. Wade-Smith, you can see this link too, maybe. But hopefully you guys can take a minute and do it now and let us know what you think about today's event. Your feedback is important. Invalid dynamic link already. Let's see if it opens. It should work.
I was able to open it.
Okay. And
sorry to interrupt you, Neil. A couple of students are starting to get worried. Students, please do not worry about being a little late to your class. I'll let your teachers know, or you can let your teachers know where you were, because we still need you to sign in for attendance for second period. Go ahead.
That might have been, okay. So was that the right link for Hollenbeck? So yeah, so students, please complete that if you don't mind. And just what an excellent event today. And it was so great to see all of your participation. We've had some great events over the last couple of days, but this might be the best. So we just really appreciate everything you're doing.
If I could also add to what Neil just said, I just want to say, as you guys are filling out your surveys, thank you, Hollenbeck STEM, for your engagement today, students. It was so nice to see so many of your beautiful faces. And also just your great questions. And just know that you guys are in a very good position right now to learn coding with your support of your teachers, and learning this very critical skill, okay? But don't limit yourself just to coding, okay? That's one of many skills that you're learning through your linked learning experience. And so I just wanted to also thank the panelists, USC's student leaders, the folks from Google. Thank you for sharing your perspective from both university and from the industry. It's very invaluable to have you talk about your experience and just your own story in becoming an engineer and coding. So that inspiration and wisdom will go far for our students. And thank you, USC and Sarah, for setting this up. Okay, so keep coding, keep learning, guys. Okay, we'll be in touch with future events, and hopefully connect us to your project that you guys are going to be doing next semester.
Sorry, the confusion. I posted the wrong link, but I think we have the right one now going. So if everyone could make sure and click that one. It's been my apologies on that, but thank you all. And students, it's going to ask you for some questions like your student ID and your birthday, and all that stuff is so we can help your school track these events and make sure that everyone's experiencing these events. So just do your best. If you don't know that information, then maybe put your email in as far as your student ID, and do your best to answer all the questions and tell us what you think, okay?
I also put the attendant sign-in the chat, students. So there's a lot of forms in the chat right now. But please make sure you do the attendant sign-in so that I can let your second period teachers know where you were. Even for Mr. Cruz, because although he was here, that's the way he's going to be taking attendance too, for those of you who had Mr. Cruz second period.
And then I'm also posting yet one more form, but this is for our partners today. So for our panelists, if you could click on this one and tell us what you thought.
Can you title it?
Yeah. You can't hyperlink in here, so sorry. But yeah, the last one is for the partners. So students, just make sure you don't need to fill out our partner feedback. Thank you, Peter.
So far I have.
Good to have a Google expert on here, because apparently the comma is messing things up. I'm learning something. Took me a couple days on that one.
Students, I have about 20 of you have signed in. There's more than 20 of you here, so please make sure, and I'll put it in the chat just to be clear, that you click on the attendance, Hollenbeck attendance sign in. So you're not marked absent. Marlon asked a question in the chat about path notes. Can someone answer that? Hello?
Is that a question about the survey, the pathway that they should indicate?
His question.
Oh, it's your pathway. If it's asking what your pathway is, you can just put STEM, STEMM. All right, appreciate the updates. I see some of you are finishing already.
Thank you, students, so much for your awesome participation today. It was really impressive to see. I've never observed kind of coding in action, and it was really cool to see the students' products, and very fun. So I'm really proud of you, Hollenbeck students.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that you guys don't have to go into the computer science field, of course, but you guys have all done amazing. And I think if you continue to do that, you will be excellent at it by the time you're, our age. And so really, really good job today. I think you guys are brilliant.
Some of you, if you clicked on the partner feedback, then that's why it's going to ask you for your organization and title. So you don't need to fill that one out. Just do the student one.
Yeah, and if students, if you're having any issues with the attendance, please you can privately message me in the chat.
Ms. Waite-Smith, are these 8th graders?
Yes.
Yes, we recognize a lot of your faces from last year's field trip to the zoo. You guys remember that field trip? You guys were learning about incubators and connected to your project. You guys were building virtual incubators. And we saw a lot of your Flipgrid videos at the end of spring in which you actually shared your learning with us. And so we're excited. And I know you guys are not shy, okay? Communication is one of your student learning outcomes. So come spring, we look forward to be invited, okay, to see more of your presentations this year. Okay? And hopefully you'll be connected to coding in some way, okay? So I know that Mr. Cruz is using code.org as a program this year to teach you guys coding. So again, no, it's never too early, all right, or too old to learn coding. So you guys are really in a good position.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to hopefully next year for the Hour of Code, we'll get to go back to USC. I'm not sure if any of you were on the trip last year, but good times. And I think, you know, as far as the partners, you know, you have the survey. Hopefully you've had a chance to complete it and leave us your feedback. But as you all are completing these, I think it's okay to go ahead and log off. And it looks like some of the students are leaving too. Is that okay, Ms. Waite-Smith?
Oh yeah. As soon as, I think it's over for the most part. So as students, when you're done filling out the forms and you've done your attendance, please, you can just say bye in the chat and then you can go to your 4th period class. And remember, just message your teacher when you get to class to let her know or him know that you're coming from a coding field trip. And that's why you're a little late.